in engineering design. The aim of this talk is to aid participants in becoming innovative and having a resourceful mindset when designing new products. The talk would be made by IR Chua Yaw Long, the Vice Chairman of the International Young Member Committee of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, IMEC-E. After the talk, there will be a Q&A session for anyone who would like to voice out any questions they have. But during the talk itself, if you have any questions, you can actually send it in the chat box and they will be addressed afterwards during the Q&A session. At the end of the talk, there will be a group photo session in which we would like everyone to switch on their webcams for a quick group photo. IR Chua Yaw Long, thank you for being with us today.
Okay, so allow me to, before I start, allow me to thank you, moderator, okay, for introducing my background a little bit. Okay, so just read, what do you call that? I hope you all can see me right now. I forgot to turn on my camera. Can you all see me right now?
Yes, I'll try.
Okay, all right. Just a brief background about myself. Okay, I graduated from UPM in year 2000 with a Bachelor of Engineering in Aerospace Engineering. And then I furthered my study into University of Sheffield, UK, under the control system. And I used to be a TARUC college lecturer, so I know Ms. Lim and also Mr. Choi. They were my colleagues before, while I was still in TARUC college in those years. So currently, I am the chair of IEM STEM Promotion Subcommittee, and I'm also the committee member for the IEM Negeri Sembilan branch. Now, I hold the vice chair of the IMEC-E, International Young Members Committee, as well as the committee for the IMEC-E Malaysia branch. So that is just a little bit about myself. So today, I'm going to present my topic, which is creativity in engineering design. So my outline for today's presentation is basically as follows. So I'm going to start with an introduction, followed by explanation of what creativity and how does it link to engineering. Okay, where is the linkage? Then I will move on to explain to you the so-called engineering design processes in general, not just only in mechanical, in general process. And how you as a student can move forward from there, how you improve all these things, the tools, things that you need. And I'm going to end up with some bonus tips for you all, okay, bonus tips after working for more than 20 years and gathering information from employers and experiences from employees, fresh graduates, things like that. So some bonus for students nowadays. So introductions. So why we need creativity nowadays? Why is creativity so important and what is creativity? So you have to understand that in the current 21st century, Malaysia, okay, we're talking about Malaysia right now, is a developing country. Okay, we aim to become a developed country in year 2020, okay, which is already passed, but we were hit by COVID-19. But now, again, many developing countries are moving away from so-called production-based, okay, manufacturing according to the designs by advanced country to knowledge-based economy. So what do I mean by production-based to knowledge-based? Many of our companies here in Malaysia take the design from Japan, from Taiwan, from Korea, from US, UK, and manufactured here. That means the design doesn't originate here. Okay, you look at car manufacturers like Honda, Toyota, Nissan, even Hyundai last time. Where the design come from? Japan, Korea, not from Malaysia. So the design is actually from overseas, not here. So as a developed country, you are supposed to come up with your own particular design, their own so-called blueprint. You tell people how to solve problems. Okay, that is what developed countries are supposed to do. And Malaysia is moving away from those so-called production, and we are supposed to come up with our own so-called like Samsung level, Hyundai level, Toyota level kind of companies already. Now, because of this paradigm shift, okay, paradigm shift in the economy, the country is in need of highly skilled, okay, creative and innovative engineers. It's no longer like we just produce mass production. No, we want to come up with engineers that can design, that can be innovative, that can be creative. However, the word I would like to use is however, our engineering students nowadays, fresh graduate nowadays, if you read the newspaper, if you read the research articles, you receive the report by professional institutions, our students are not, the word I would like to use here, are not well equipped with industry focused soft skills here. I'm not talking about the technical skills. I'm not talking about those you are able to draw using AutoCAD, you are able to draw using SolidWorks, you are able to design, coming up with program using Python, you're able to program using Arduino. No, those are technical skills. I'm talking about soft skills here. And because of that, we are behind the advanced countries. And what are the soft skills here? What are the soft skills here? So in 2006, researchers from the US, okay, from the American region, they conducted a survey, they conducted a research, okay? What are the skills required by graduates, not just only engineering, but graduates around the world in order to survive in the 21st century? During the first decade of 21st century, these are the so-called critical survival skills. This is the first of its kind at the time when it's, you see, we have, okay, basic knowledge, you need the English, reading comprehensions, science, these are all we know, okay? You learn it in your schools, okay? You learn it in your schools, primary, secondaries, yeah. But when it comes to tertiary, is our engineering program providing you with this kind of skills? Critical thinking, problem solving, communications, whether is it presenting like what I'm presenting right now, oral presentations, body languages, your face expressions, okay? Written communications, how you write your technical report, how you write your report to capture or pitch for a project. Are you a team worker, good teamwork, team player? Do you collaborate with other people? Now, the one thing that I always stress to my students in Unit 10 here, please remove your kampong mentality. The kampong mentality. Okay, you are not going to compete with Malaysians only in the 21st century. We are talking about global competitiveness, competitions globally. What you do here, even when you graduate later on, when you go out and search for your first job, things like that, are you going to compete with Malaysian graduates from from UTM, USM, UPM, or even local private universities like Unit 10 or UTP or MMU? Bear in mind, you are also competing with graduates coming back from overseas. I'm talking about relevant thing to you. People like those graduates from UK, Australia, Japan, Singapore. They are coming back to Malaysia and work. How are you going to compete yourself with these people? And when you start to work in the 10 years later on, how are you going to compete in companies that is working, okay, competing around the world? Collaborations, teamwork, okay, leaderships. And if you see that, creativity is definitely one of the survival skills here already. And you need to continue to learn, continuous professional development. Okay, we talk about ethics, social responsibility, and things like that. But today, I'm going to concentrate on creativity only, especially in engineering designs, because that is where your creativity is very, very related to. So I told you already, the scenario is there, and then our engineering students are not well equipped with this kind of skills. So what happens to our engineering education? What is going on here right now? So we have to understand that there are a lot of core engineering subjects that are related to creativity, and one of it is engineering design. Okay, one of it, any module that is related to engineering design, they are definitely related to creativity. Unfortunately, educational systems around the world, including Malaysia, has not emphasized enough on creativity. I've conducted a research on the so-called universities, majority of the universities and UC, university colleges in Malaysia, public and private, that are known of, okay, public and private, and I look at their so-called mechanical, electrical, and some civil. There are modules that they offer in their so-called 4 years degree program. Okay, out of about 30 plus that I've gone through, that is university level, not just only in university. I also look at their program. Okay, search. I look at the syllabus. Sad to say, in Malaysia, only 3 universities actually touch on creativity in their program. UTM, they have so many engineering program. Only UTM, I think electrical or electronic, they give a core subject called creativity and creative thinking, something like that, as a major, so core subject for their students in SEM 1, year 1. It's a core subject, making it a core subject. Okay, University Technology College Cebu is also another private university in Cebu. Okay, making creativity and innovation a core subject in his 4 years program. Core subject, only these 2 universities, one public, one private, make it a core subject. Now, in my universities where I'm working right now, Unit 10, creative thinking is made as, what they call that, the elective subject in 3rd year. Okay, it's not a core subject. So out of so many universities, only 3 that really touches on creativity. The others, none. Sorry to say, none. Okay, that is why including Malaysia has not emphasized enough on creativity. The students are not provided with this kind of skills. So what is creativity? What is engineering? Okay, so that is the first question. A lot of people give you a lot of definitions, a lot of theories. There are a lot of definitions, a lot of theories over the years, decades and centuries. So recent one that you can see is creativity is a capability of a person to come up with new objects or new designs. In 2007, is the ability of a person to come up with the production of a novel, original, and socially useful projects, ideas, process, or ingenious solutions to problems. Okay, another one, basically it is a vital skill of the 21st century. Okay, these are up to the one. Okay, if you go and search some more, there are more and more coming up. All right, so what is creativity? What is it? Okay, in our forefather generations, decades ago, centuries ago, creativity was considered to be a divine gift. Okay, so-called a divine gift born. Okay, you have this so-called gift by God. Okay, you were born with it, you are able to come up with very creative product or creative idea. To a certain extent, some point during our generations, during our time, we heard the so-called think out of the box. Okay, think out of the box. Please have a thinking that is out of the box. Meaning to say, walk away from your comfort zone, think away, challenge yourself outside of your comfort zone. Now, that is my generation thinking out of the box. For students of these generations in the 21st century, I would like to tell you the truth is, hey, there's no box for you already. There is so-called no more box for you. You must start to think there is no more box, there is no limit, there's no boundaries, so-called boundaries like a box for you already. You have to think. Okay. So it's basically now a skill that can be taught, can be learned, can be measured, and can be controlled. Okay, by this guy in 1961, Rhodes. And basically, creativity is an artificial science. All right. So creativity is considered now as a potential of a person, okay, with the correct cognitive thinking process inside your brain, with the correct, if you identify the correct thing, learn it, and then because of our human brain, we can actually stretch it, or we can actually compress it. That's why we can store a lot of things inside our brain, and then we can process it in the way that we want it. Now, what is creativity? Again, I mentioned, come back to the very basic. I mentioned there are so many hundreds and probably thousands of creativity theories, definitions. But 1961 was one of the breakthrough in creativity. Rhodes, okay, this guy called Rhodes categorized, okay, the so-called theories or definitions of creativity into so-called the 4 P's or the 4 pillars of creativity in 4 different segments. The first one is what we call the process. As I mentioned, this is something that is happening inside your brain. You can actually learn to think this way, this way, this way, this way. Okay. Second one is the person. This is the potential, or this is something like capability, your attitude, your character, your motivations. Okay, something to do with psychology effect. Okay, psychology effect of that particular person. All right. The third one would be the impact of Mother Earth or the nature. Okay, this is very more important to those what do you call that, the artists. Okay, artists or musicians. Okay, artists or musicians. So some people will just go to the nature, okay, and then they listen to the nature sound, and then they are able to come up with a nice music, nice piece of music. Some people can write a poem by looking at certain scenery, and then they can write for you. So that is the impact of Mother Nature or the surrounding to the person. From there, as I mentioned, they are able to come up with a nice piece of music, a nice piece of poem. That would be the outcome, or what we call a product. Okay, a product. So for engineering, we are talking about process, and we're talking about product. This is psychology. We can't really control psychology. We can't really control the so-called the impact by the Mother Nature. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit on the product, because as engineer, we design a lot of things. We come up with a lot of solutions, artifacts, things like that. So how do you categorize a creative product? How do you know this product is creative? Now, the basic foundations that whether the product or the solutions that you come up with must be novel, original, unique. That is where novelty comes in. Okay, that is where uniqueness comes in. However, that cannot be the case for engineering. Why? Okay, so if you are talking about artists, musicians, poem, or they have the impact from the surroundings, and then they come up with a very nice piece of music, a very nice piece of art painting like Pablo Picasso, things like that. Okay, yes. But in engineering, we all always must remember effectiveness, efficiency is the king. Okay, efficiency is the king. That's why you learn efficiency is how many percent of error, how many percent. So before you can even come up with a so-called unique solutions, you must look at how effective is your solution first. Otherwise, any solutions that comes up by that person or the engineers is considered as unique or considered as creative. No, if that solution doesn't solve the problem, that is not a creative product or not a creative solutions. So very fundamental in terms of engineering. The first thing that we look at is effectiveness. Then only we look at whether our solution is unique or not. The third one would be the elegance. Elegance here, we're talking about aesthetics. Ooh, this product or this solution looks very nice, looks very good. For example, a car, the shape is very aerodynamics. So if you learn your fluid mechanics, under Ben here, Mr. Ben, who is my former student, okay, all right, so you learn your fluid mechanics. If you go on further, you will have about aerodynamics. Okay, so you look at the design. Oh, this is very aerodynamic. This is very fast, nice. The last here would be Genesis. Genesis is like solving a problem. Your solution totally open up a new perspective of solutions that you never thought you would have. Okay, nobody knows this one. So look at, for example, handphones. Some people ask me in the, one of the webinar, how do you consider what you call that the solution is Genesis? We meet the Genesis. When smart handphone or handphone first came out, they don't really have those camera features. They don't really have the so-called Wi-Fi feature. They only have the very basics. If you know the Nokia 3310, the legendary Nokia 3310, SMS, call only. But look at what happened 20 years down the line. You have camera, you have Wi-Fi, you can actually play video, you can actually, what do you call that, read books from there, read reports from there, you can access, you can even have meeting calls using your handphones. So basically, when this smartphone or these handphones turn up, it opened up a very new, okay, a very new wise perspective for solving future problems that they never think of. They can actually solve this problem, they can actually bring these new things. So basically, this is one very creative product. All right. Now, next one would be the creative process. It is a process of becoming sensitive to problem, deficiencies, gaps in the knowledge, missing elements, disharmonies, and so on. And then you need to identify the solutions, difficult, searching for the solutions, making guesses, things like that, testing and retesting your solutions, your hypothesis. And then you might have to probably have to modify those and testing them. And finally, the word here, communicating the results. You test already, you test the solution, but then you keep your solution to yourself and you never tell people about your solutions. What's the purpose? You need to communicate the results. You need to let people know your results. So this one was defined by Torrance in 1974. For creative product, I mentioned just now, was actually developed by a professor in mechanical engineering in Australia, Professor Dr. David Cropley. Right? So, is creativity important? Yes. Creativity is needed by engineers in the process of designing products, systems, or even solving engineering problems. This is in general when you go out and when you practice, when you start designing things, when you start looking for solutions. Okay. Now, for lecturers, if you, okay, for academicians who are here today, okay, if you look at the EAC Manual 2020, okay, how is engineering defined? It is already stated. It is the creative applications of scientific principle. Second word itself is telling you that engineering is a creative application. You must have creativity. If you don't have, sorry to say, engineering doesn't work. Okay? And institutions of higher learning in the country must provide, okay, students with ample opportunities for analytical, critical, constructive, and creative thinking. Is our module, is our program provide exposures to students to think creatively, to do the things creatively? Is our student able to think creatively out of the box, or there's no box for them anymore? That is one thing we really need to look into. Okay, so creativity and engineering, yes, if you look at it, I already show you some examples in terms of the academic requirement, in terms of the industry and how lecturers and how industry people, later I show you one, okay. The need for creativity has become more important than ever before because you need effective and novel solutions. You cannot just copy and paste other people's work and put it yours. No, you can't do that anymore. Why? Because we're talking about complex engineering problem. It's not like solving 1 + 1 = 2. Okay, you have a lot of complex engineering problem. What do I mean by complex engineering problem here? Your problem are ill-defined. There are so many things that you don't know. You have no idea. You don't know where to start. Okay. Second thing, there's no so-called definitive or unique solutions. It's not like, okay, I want to get a 2. How can I get a 2? 1 + 1 = 2. All right. There's no so-called unique solutions, and it requires in-depth knowledge. You need to know more and more about this problem before you can do something about it. Conflicting requirements? Yes. Okay, things that when you want to build a car, what are the requirements? I want my car to be fast. I want my car to be safe. I want my car to be cheap. When you want fast, you want safe, of course, the cost will go up. How can you still get cheap? So that would be your conflicting requirements. So you will have this, and then you must learn to do some assumptions and negotiations and things like that. Okay. Involve diverse resources, definitely. We're talking about different resources. Okay, which resources you should prioritize first? Which one you should do first? Which one you should not do first? Which one you can go parallel? Which one must come after the other? So this is the way we go. So after all this, so who are the engineers going to do this? What are the roles of engineers in this case? Who are the engineers? Engineers, okay, of course, apart from the normal definitions that they must have a bachelor degree in engineering, they must register with BM, all these things, but you have to understand that they are basically problem solvers. They solve technical problems, not technicians, they solve by coming up with solutions, coming up with designs, coming up with artifacts, product that can solve the problem, or coming up with way or SOPs, procedures to solve the problem. Those are engineers. And how do we come up until that point? It will be the change that is in the environment that actually leads to what we have today. Okay, so if you look at this diagram, changes in the environment, changes in the surrounding, okay, basically, once we have the change, there will be a new needs in the society. And because of this sudden change, there's sudden spike in the need, there will be some problem there, okay? And engineers need to design the solutions, come up with a product, come up with the SOP, come up with the procedures to solve the problem. So I give you one relevant example right now. So what is the hot topic right now? COVID-19. COVID-19. So when COVID-19 first hit the world at the end of 2019 and Malaysia in the first quarter or second quarter of 2020. What happened? I hope you all still remember in those days, suddenly you find that there is no more mask. Everybody is looking for hand sanitizer, okay, disinfectants, all these things. Even our so-called medical frontliners, our doctors, I pity them when I see those pictures. They were actually wearing the blue color garbage bags to become their PPE, personal protective equipment. They don't have masks, they don't have any face shield to protect them because we don't know anything, don't know much about COVID-19 at that time. And there was a lot of shortages of masks for our medical frontliners, the doctors in the ICU, the doctors in the COVID-19 ward. What happened? And then there were a lot of swab tests that they need to do for so-called the POI, patient under investigations suspects. Okay. If you've seen, there were a lot of efforts by students or university. They design, they come up with a face shield for our doctors. Yes, those are creative solutions. One of it I noticed was we have a lot of scuba masks. Okay, and then these are for the marine divers. They modified. They changed the filter inside snorkeling mask so that it is medically compliant and can be used again and again and again by our medical practitioner. They just changed a little bit here, and then the doctors, the nurses, the pharmacists can use it in the hospital while waiting for the companies, the manufacturing company to gain up, okay, to push up the productions. So that is the solutions. Another one that my friend was working on was this. This came out in TV3 last year. Okay, one of my friends is a mechanical engineer. Okay, and he worked with doctors from UITM hospitals, and they designed this so-called combat unit. So this is again the change in the society. We need to do a lot of swab tests, but in the same time, we don't know much about this COVID-19. How are we going to protect our medical frontliners? We don't have enough masks, we don't have this. So they come up, they utilize empty containers. So this is a container, it's not a box, it's a container that you see in a pot. They get 2 of those containers. They install ventilators, okay, air conditioning units that meets the medical standards, okay, meet the medical standards for like bacteria, all these things like a clean room. Okay, and they delivered 2 units of this for the hospitals, and this can be brought to different places where there is no hospital or rural area to protect the doctors, to protect the nurses so that they can do swab tests at that time. Again, these are creative solutions. Okay, when there is a need, there's a change in the society. So this is in Malaysia. The third one that I want to share is somewhere in Scotland. Okay, all right, so this is called a Falkirk wheel. So this one is something of civil engineering. This is from civil engineering. This one is located between 2 rivers in Scotland. From one point to another point is like a 4 to 5 story tall. And if you want to get from this point to point up there, it will take about 3 days in the river to go up. And it will take time, okay, because the river is very narrow. So how to solve this problem to reduce the congestions for the boats here in that particular river? They come up with this wheel. You can go and Google this Falkirk wheel. So this is a video of this Falkirk wheel. So you can see how tall is the thing. From a river point to another river that is on another side, which is about 4 to 5 story tall away. So it solves the congestions of the boat along that particular river. And the best part is the energy that they need to run this is very low. They are only using the principle of momentum. Just give it a push, and the thing, because of the momentum theory, it can rotate by itself. And just stop it. And it saves a lot of time. Rather than from 3 to 4 days journey, it will become in less than 1 hour. The ship can go in and out in just 1 hour. Creative invention. Solutions to problems. Okay. All right. So I've shown you some examples, local and worldwide. So it tells you one thing: engineers who are equipped with not just only technical knowledge, okay, you know all the technical knowledge, okay, you must be able to generate novel solutions, new solutions. Okay, if you can do that, all right, you can think out of the box, coming up with ideas that are genuine, okay, you are definitely in high demand. You are definitely in high demand. So where does this actually lead to? Where does this come from? Creativity and engineering. It is in your engineering design process. So in general, engineering design process, or we call it the innovative process. Okay, we started off with problem identifications. You must identify what is the problem, what is the need. And the next thing is idea generations. Come up with ideas, solutions, methods to actually solve the problem. Remember just now when we were talking about the process, the creative process, a process of becoming sensitive to the problems, deficiencies, the gaps, and then coming out searching for solutions. Remember just now the definition? That is where this comes in. Okay? And that is where your creativity oriented work behavior comes in. You are, the moment you see this, you know this is what, just like that. This is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. For me to solve this one, what are the ways? Okay, if this is a solution. So just this morning, I asked my students, I give you a problem now. You are to travel from KL to Singapore. What are the solutions? They gave me, so okay, I will go by car, I will go by airplane, I will take a bus, okay, I can go by ship. But no one give me one other options. I can go by KTM. I can take a train. That is another possible solution. Okay, think out of the box. My generation is think out of the box. Now there's no box for you. Okay, now I work in Kajang. I travel every day from Kajang to Seremban and Seremban to Kajang because I stay in Seremban. Now there are quite a number of times already I saw before the MCO. I saw quite a number of so-called orang putih or masale along the highway. Do not be surprised. Along the highway, hitchhiking. Okay, hitchhiking. They were on their way from, maybe they don't have enough money or they want to save money. Along the highway, they were actually hitchhiking from KL to JB. Is that a possible solution? Yes, it is a possible solution, a unique solution. But in terms of effectiveness, it may not be good. But that is possible solutions. That is thinking out of the box. Okay, creativity comes in here. Okay, hitchhiking, van, bus, motorbike. Okay, all depending on the problem that you identify and the so-called constraints, the limitations that you have. Then you have to come up with the ideas. Remember the last part, you need to finally tell people about your ideas. Because you have your solutions already, you need to promote those ideas to your top management, your management of the company. Tell them, okay, this is this, these are the solutions, this is what, this is the efficiency if you use this one, this is the solution if you use this one. Promote them. Okay, then implement those ideas, build the prototype, get the data, all these things. And this is basically your implementation phase, work-based already. So remember just now, the problem identifications is a very systematic process of identifying the root cause. You need to identify the root cause. Okay, you must know what is the problem. If you identify the wrong problem, you tackle the wrong thing, and that is very bad. Okay, after you have identified the so-called appropriate response, the root cause, then only you can come up with your idea generations to solve those problems. Okay, so then you identify the appropriate response or interventions or idea generations that effectively solve the problem. There are many tools here. You can actually use Pareto analysis or Pareto charts, the fishbone diagrams. Okay, I'm sure that you learned this one. The 5 whys or the why diagram, these are just some, not all, just some you can actually use it to identify. Now, in terms of the idea generation phase, now this is very important because this is where creativity comes in, sits in here. We're talking about divergent and we're talking about convergent. Divergent is basically about involving generations of ideas. I mentioned just now, I'll give you an example. Travel from KL to Singapore. Ideas, take a flight, drive, motorbike, bus, train, hitchhike. Those are your ideas. Now, the problem with students nowadays is they are unwilling to think. Oh, sir, I just take the flight. Is there any other solutions? I take a flight, easy lah. No, that's where you lose out your competitions. You refuse to think, oh, I can take a train, I can take a ship, a cruise, okay, I can take a bus, I can take a taxi, okay, I can charter the taxi and go down. So you yourself must come up with all the possible, okay, create options for yourselves, okay. Think, imagine, okay, you may have 10, 20 of those options. Fine. Some of it may not be feasible. Some may not be practical at the moment. So, okay, because why? Some of it because it is not, our technology is not there yet. We don't have the kind of technology. Okay. 100 years ago, have we ever thought that we can submerge in the water? Have we thought that we can fly? 100 over years ago, nobody thought that we can fly, but now we have aircraft, we have space rockets, we have satellites. We just landed in Mars recently. Those are your ideas. Come up with those ideas, and then that is where you start to choose. The first phase is brain. The word that you all use is brainstorm, but now the thing is, brainstorm is outdated. Okay, brainstorm is outdated. From those ideas, evaluate those ideas. Okay, make decisions. Let's say you have 20 ideas. Choose the best 5. Choose the best 5 or the best 2 or the best, if it, depending on your company or your works. Now, by separating those ideas in the convergent and the divergent, you are able to spark new ideas and brilliant ideas. Who knows? And stay open to new ideas. Do not jump to conclusions so fast. Right. Some of the idea generation tools that you can see here, these are just some of the tools. Mind map, 6 thinking hats by Edward de Bono. Okay, probably you have seen this one, the morphological chart or morphology analysis. Okay, Scamper, this is another thing. Now, the new thing is brain sketching, brain writing. Brainstorming, I am so sorry, it is out. It is totally out. Brain sketching, brain writing, brain typing. Yeah, There are a lot more tools, more than 20 over tools. I've searched online, I gained some information about this, I learned some of this. Okay, to my knowledge, there are more than 20 tools out there. Creative problem solving is one of it. Synetics is one of it. Okay, attribute listing, functional decomposition, concept map, just to name a few for you. Okay, a lot of tools for you to come up with ideas. So the way forward from there, what you as a student, what can you do? And for lecturers, now bear in mind, creativity is a skill I mentioned already, is no longer a myth, it's no longer a divine skill or a divine gift. Okay, the old ways of teaching, now we are talking about getting used to the new norms. The old way of teaching and learning is still here. What we are doing right now probably is like 100 years ago, we are still practicing the same thing. But we have a lot of new technologies and new methods we have to explore, and we have to use those things already. Now, if you look at the traditional classrooms and the constructivity learning environment, I'm talking about learning environment here. Okay, materials are primarily textbooks or workbook. Learning is based on repetition. You memorize facts, memorize formulas. Okay, teacher's role is directive, rooted in authority. You listen to me, you don't listen, you get scolded, all these things. Assessment is testing, correct answers. These are some of the characteristics of the old learning environment or the classroom. The new one, totally different. Materials include primary sources of material and manufacturing. We don't ask you to read textbook. You got some, if the lecturers still ask you to go and read textbooks, okay, probably it's from the old school. I don't ask the student to go and read textbook anymore. Search for articles, search for, because I'm dealing with product design. Search for articles, search for catalogs, search for standards. We're talking about standards, Japatan standards, Malaysian standards. Find from there, come up with your ideas, then go and do survey, go and do interviews. And then how do you get your outcome from the interviews, analyze all these things. Okay, I only teach them the very basics, and then they have to go and do this. Okay, dialogues with the students is not a one-way. The teacher or the lecturer is a stain on the stage. No, the lecturer has to come down and actually talk to the students, meet the students frequently. Okay, it's an interactive model already. Now, assessments include students' work, of course, observations, point of view, as well as tests. Definitely, tests must be there, but it is the process also. Now, in those days, we are talking about your final exam marks, things like that. Now, no longer, it is the process, like peer review. Okay, your peer review. I want to see your, like for my case, by my students, you go and get market feedback. Then I will have to look. You cannot just go and do your market survey on anybody along the street. So if I were to ask you to design a wheelchair, you show me your data, I will see, who do you interview? Who do you interview? So they say that, oh, this is for my amachi, this is for my uncle, this is. Do you think that people who you are interviewing are going to use the wheelchair? Then I make them realize, oh, they are not. Then where you should be going to go and get your potential candidate for interview? Hospital, clinics, old folks home, OKU. One of the group, very nice. They went and interviewed Paralympians. That means paralyzed athletes in Pusat Science, Pusat Sukan Negara in Bukit Jalil. Those other people, they realize the process. No, it's not the target I want to get, but they realize that in the process, they know what is need to be done, what is here, what's that. Okay, so that is a process apart from the product. It means the outcome, but the process, they must emphasize as well. Okay, so the knowledge is seen as dynamic, ever-changing, okay, and no longer working in silo. No longer working in silo. You cannot be working in silo. Teamwork. Remember the critical skills I mentioned in one of my earlier slides? One of the critical skills, teamwork, collaborations. You are not going to work alone anymore. You have to work in groups. And I don't encourage free riders. Okay? So why we emphasize creativity in engineering education? As I mentioned, Malaysia has evolved from production-based to knowledge-based. Okay, and we are now focusing on high-value industry. What do I mean by high-value industries here? These are the where we actually design, we come up with a blueprint, we tell people how to solve the problems, and then we give the production print or the blueprint to developing countries. Okay, so they produce it. Okay, solve the problem faced by humanity, yes. And of course, improving the world through engineering, which is the tagline for I'm a Key. Right, so what is stopping creativity among the students now? Students are required to follow rigid steps to solve problem. Yes, you follow the textbook, you follow step by step, all these things, but bear in mind that is a beginning. That is the initial phase. Step 1, step 2. When you go up to step 3, step 4, and so on and so forth, you must look at a different perspective only. You know this knowledge, that is the foundation. Those are just the scratch, the surface of the thing. You must learn to solve, not just only following rigid steps. Okay? Afraid of criticism? Yes, this is a lot. I see a lot. Lecturer criticize me, lecturer talks to me. No, accept criticism. Okay, learn to accept criticism by your friends, by your peers, by your superiors, things like that when you go and work. This is where you will learn the most, trust me. This is where you will learn the most. Stereotype, oh, this guy is definitely introvert, he doesn't want to talk. When people start to stereotype you, I'm so sorry. You have to start taking actions to make sure that you are not that kind of person and start to mingle around. Self-esteem is level, okay? Your level is you don't like to mingle. I see a lot of students, they like to work solo, silo, Lone Ranger, Zorro. Okay, no. And the last one I always say in the students is unwilling to think. Unwilling to think. This is the problem with the students nowadays. Not willing to think. Hey, design this for me. They come up with one sketch only, they come to me. Is this the only one that you can come up with? Can you give me another one? Sir, give me, I just do one now, can or not? There goes your so-called competitiveness. There goes your competitiveness. Okay, unwilling to think. You must be open up to your mind. Okay, open up your mind, think. All right. Why choose to be creative? Why not? The moment you start to open up your mind, you will be having different perspective. Now, just now I shared one of the slide is Edward de Bono, 6 thinking hacks. You are starting to put your mind in a different perspective and you start to look at the situations, the problem in the different perspective. I always tell my students, if this is a pen, what do you see? You see what kind of shape you see? Oh, this is a rectangular. But if I were to look at it this way, what do I see? Oh, now I see it's a circular shape. This is how you look at the problem at a different perspective. If you look at the pen this way, you see rectangular shape. But if you look at a different perspective, oh, I see circle now. If I look at it, what color do I see? I see blue, I see white, I see red, I see green, things like that. But if I were to turn like this one, from your point of view, I only see blue. This is where your competitiveness is. Learn to think. Okay, learn to think. Harness your internal and your external factors to be creative. Big egos. Okay, big egos, this is where you fail to accept criticism. Embrace creativity. Now, learn to come up with a lot of ideas. Thoughts can be expressed freely. Your ideas can be expressed freely. As I mentioned, some of the solutions, some of ideas may not be practical right now. But 5 years, 10 years down the line, when the technology is there, this one can be made available. Okay. All right. So there is no barriers, there's no restrictions in your imagination. Let your imagination run wild. Oh, I can have this, I can have that. Okay. A lot of research has shown that our children, young children in primary schools are much more creative than adults like us. Why? Because they have no restrictions in their brain. Okay. When I test, okay, I test with my own students and I test with primary school students, standard one. What do you see here when I draw on this? Can someone show me? What do I see? What is the first answer that comes into my mind? Okay. It is, they will give me McDonald's, big M. But the standard one students, they tell me, sir, that is a bird. Okay. All right. So this is my bonus for you all as a student. Okay, bonus for you all. For you all, what does the employer looks for apart from creativity? I mentioned just now, apart from creativity. Communications, positive skills, team working, willingness to learn, yes. Thinking skills, creative thinking skills, adaptability, self-management, and resilience. Okay. How do you develop these skills? Be active in core curricular activities, participate in volunteering work and community services, serve as committee members. Trust me, this one is very important. If you are in the committee of the clubs, do things. You learn a lot of soft skills, writing proposals, time management, budgeting. These are the first things that company will look for. Social networking, build your network while you are still in your university, and willing to accept challenges by moving out of your comfort zone. Now, this is the one that I always share with my students from my subject as well as to my IEM-TARUC community. It is the extra effort that distinguishes us from the others. Why limit yourself? Why you want to limit yourself? Okay, as I mentioned, you are going to compete with your peers from local universities as well as overseas universities. When you go out for your first job interview, people will look at your CV. What is the difference? Why should I hire you? What is the difference between you and him? It is your extra effort that you've done in your universities. Okay, to do the impossible is where my faith begins. Many of my committee members in the IEM-TARUC Unit 10 student chapter, they achieve a lot of impossible feats other student chapter has not done before. Okay, they start to have faith in themselves. They start to have confidence in themselves already. And many of them manage to get the job even before they graduate. Or some of them manage to get it within 1 to 2 months, other than 6 months, 7 months. Some manage to get it during their final semester before they finish their studies. Okay, so this will be my last slides. Creativity is considered as one of the most important human activity by this guy called Chariton. So with that, I thank you everybody for listening to my talk, and I open up the sessions for any Q&As. Okay.
Thank you, Chua Yaw Long, for the informative talk. The Q&A session is now open for anyone who would like to raise a question. You may speak out your question or send it in the chat box. For now, we have a couple of questions in the chat box, so I think we can start with those first.
Okay. Okay, I see. Okay. Are these applied skills goes by ranking according to their priority, or is it randomly listed? Okay, the skills, are you referring to the table of the critical skills?
Yes, Chua. Referring to the second slide, I think the second slide you mentioned about those soft skills that are essential. And then I just want to know whether they are in priority list or they are just randomly listed.
They don't have a button. They identify only. They didn't put it into a priority.
I see. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So the second question is: education make thinking become narrow but deep. However, this will decrease the freedom of creative. So the box will be more and more small. No. That okay. This is the problem with the education system right now. Okay, this is the problem with the education. They are trying to, okay, let me turn on the camera. Our education system is in, rather than opening up like that, they are actually making it into an inverted pyramid. You know, that is a problem that we are facing right now. Okay, it's not just only in Malaysia, it's the whole wide world. And then researchers are actually telling these institutions or this government, please, if you do like that, we will face a lot of problem of not enough creative engineers. So the box will not be small and smaller and smaller. No, that's why there is, I told you in the start, in your generation, there will be no more boxes for you. Okay, there will be no more boxes in the sense that there's no more limitations because informations are now wide open, okay, available to you already. In the internet, okay, you can go Wikipedia, all these things. It's just that in the university, they're just telling you that these are the basic things. You need to creatively apply those informations. Okay, so for example, in your primary, you learn plus, minus, divide, and multiply. So you learn integer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In your secondary school, you probably learn the so-called decimals. You learn pi. Okay, you learn all the alphabets, also the coefficients. So if I were to tell you that I want a number, okay, I want, very simple. When I first studied my master's, my mathematics lecturer told me, what is 1 plus 1? Can you prove to me 1 plus 1 is 2? There's no proof 1 plus 1 is 2. You cannot prove 1 plus 1 must be equal to 2. Why? Mathematically, 1 plus 1 is not necessarily 2. You know something about vector? Magnitude of 1 to the left and magnitude of 1 to the right. If you plus that 1 to this one, it's 0. That is vector. 1 plus 1, the magnitude to the left and the magnitude to the right, 1. What do you get that? 1 plus 1 is 0. If your 1 is to the right and another one, second one is 60 degrees up, okay? So your total is not 1 anymore. It can be another one that forms a triangle mathematically. So who says 1 plus 1 must be equal to 2? Think out of the box. That's what my lecturer told me. You must, there's no such thing as box anymore. Mathematically, there's no more. No more. Okay, it will not be smaller and smaller. Okay. Okay. Is your advisable, okay, to trace creative thinking methodology? Now, I would consider trace as not as something that is creative. Why? Because the method is already fixed. Okay, the method is already like, okay, you do this and then you solve this, you do this and then you solve this. Creativity is that there's no limitation. There's no way that you have to solve this way and then solve this way and then solve this way. No. Okay. So trace is just one of, okay, I discussed this one with one of the trace practitioner. Then he agrees with my point. Okay. There is, in creativity, there's no standard way of, what they call that, you must follow this, you must follow this, you must follow this, you must follow this. Trace, probably you have to follow this because trace is a, how to say, a database of how people solve the problem in this particular standard, this way, this way, this way. If you face this one, you use this table and then the cross conflict, what do you call that? The conflict table, all this. Then you use this. It's already something like a standardized method. A standardized method. Okay. So not exactly the what we call as creative, because as I said, creativity is not that you follow one what do you call it? One of my slides I mentioned that step 1, rigid steps. Okay, one of my slides is about rigid step, following the rigid steps. Trees is like that, if I'm not mistaken. This required to follow rigid steps to solve the problem. That is where trees cannot be considered as a creative method to solve the problem. Creativity is not there. Okay. Yes, it is good for beginners to learn creativity methodology. That's why I said it's a sad thing in Malaysia. When they design the things, when they learn the engineering design, they actually don't learn things like six thinking hats. They don't learn what is scampers. They do not know what is synetics. There are a lot more. They don't know what is attribute listings. They don't, if you go and Google what are the creative thinking skills, apparently they only probably learn functional decomposition. They maybe just learn morphology analysis, only these two. Okay, these are considered as a little bit rigid already. But if you look at brainstorming, people use brainstorming. No, brainstorming is considered old already. Now there's brain writing, there's brain sketching. Okay, sketching. The moment you see this one, sketch. The moment you see this one, sketch. The moment you see this one, sketch. Come up with the ideas. Don't limit yourself. Okay, so it's good to have this kind of things into what they call that, the engineering design, one of the modules or one of the subjects. Okay, and that is what UTM is doing. UTM, if you go and find the Faculty of Electrical, I searched their program. The very first semester, now this kind of so-called skills must be exposed to the student at the very, very first instance. Okay, it will be good for them, preferably during the first year or second year, because throughout your 4 years of studies, you will have a lot of design modules. Okay, then they can actually apply these skills in their design. So if I were to use this one, okay, they learn mind mapping, they learn concept map, they learn attribute listing, they learn scampers, they learn synetics, okay, they learn functional decompositions, they learn all these things, skills, 7 or 8 skills. There are more than 20 skills out there. They learn this one, and then when they come to their engineering design modules, oh, I can actually, if I want to design this part, I can use this method, I can come up with this, what kind of solutions, all these things. They can use this one again and again and again in few semesters in their studies. Don't put this module into their so-called third year or fourth year. It will be too late for them already. Because why? By third year, whatever they need to learn for engineering design, they already learned already. It will be in their fourth year, they're going to use it in their final year project, too late. That's why I admire the what they call it, the UTM students. They learn it in the first year, first semester. Okay.
So I have a question in which there have been emphasis on creativity and the needs for it, but what is a practical advice for students to harness their creativity? Because there might be techniques and methods, but some might be lost on how can I be more creative.
Okay. There are some, okay, the thing is a student have to go and find out from outside of the, if the campus doesn't have this kind of trainings, I would suggest to go and look for this kind of trainings outside. Now, I have a few graduates. Basically, I invited some of those fresh graduates to come to my university and give talks to how to secure a job in the field, okay, that they wanted, like in oil and gas, in manufacturing, in automotive. Quite a number, okay, of their experience caught my attention. So one of it was their initiative to go learn new skills outside of their university's life. One of it was, he told me, this one is a graduate from Nottingham Chemical Engineering. He told me, sir, I am a chemical engineer, but I am really interested to work in oil and gas. Okay, so I'm a chemical engineer. And during my 4th year of studies, I realized that my job doesn't provide me, or my program doesn't provide me with this kind of so-called skills that is wanted by this company. He did a research on the company that he wanted, like Schlumberger, oil and gas, what do you call that, the ExxonMobil, some of it, okay? He's interested, really, he wants to work on the oil rig. So he went and searched during his first year. Oh, they need to have this professionally certified. They must have this skill, this skill, this skill, this skill. All right. So he took the initiative, okay, during the semester break. And then he went and do part-time job and then collect enough money. And then during the semester time, he purposely went and attend professionally certified courses where he get the skills. So these are the things that I see that in his initiative. Oh, he has this skill. He has this skill professionally certified. That means by training providers outside of the university himself. He even participated in a lot of contexts related to oil and gas. Related to oil and gas organized by multinational companies with his friend from UTM, he told me. I am from Nottingham University, Malaysia. I had a lot of friends in UTM and I joined them on my own cost, my own expenses. I worked part-time during the semester break and this is what I did. I learned this skill, I learned these skills, and guess what? These are the skills I identify. So he's thinking already, he's thinking out of the box. I don't want to follow the program exactly. I want to make sure that I can actually learn all these things before I actually got to get engaged with the companies. So these are the ways that you can actually do it. Get those skills, fine. As I said, there's no more limit, there's no more boundary for you. Go and search these skills. Where can you learn it? Is there any workshops, free workshops, online workshops, organized by IMECI, organized by IEM, organized by IET, ICE, all this, or even by TARUC? They have these webinars by professional speakers come and tell you, get your information from there. Okay? Okay, there was a question. Other than the soft skills you mentioned earlier, can you share some of the latest hard skills an employer is looking for? I can't, because it's really depending on the nature of what field you want to. Okay, so for example, okay, if you have time, please arrange Mr. Zen to come and share a session on job interviews. Because Mr. Zen, who is an IMECI Business Development Manager, he has been a job headhunter for a lot of companies, and he knows what the companies want. He has been with Samsung, he has been with Job Streets, okay? So he's a headhunter. He will tell you during the interview what they actually want for. This company, they don't really look into technical knowledge so much. They are actually looking into your soft skills, your attitude, your character, whether you are confident or not. Technical skills, you can actually acquire that very fast because you are still very young. The moment you come in and then they will just throw you and then you will learn it. You can learn it by yourself. Technical skills are quite, I won't say that they are not important, but during the interview, let's say for mechanical engineering, they will have the same degree. The content of the degree is almost the same. But again, if you are going to work in the IT, of course, you need more IT knowledge compared to your peers. If you are going to work in, you plan to work in oil and gas, then you have to look into what is needed in the oil and gas. Okay, so for one of my past IMECI vice chair, okay, he is very interested in engineering design. He's not interested in thermal. He's not interested in fluid mechanics. He's not interested in control. So he did a lot of design. So he went and learned about Creo. He went and learned about SolidWorks. He went and learned all this professional design software. Not just only one. He can do a lot. And then he went and do a lot of programming, how to do the design, how to do these things. And guess what? Just within 1 month after he finished his study, he's already been called for 3 job interview. 3 jobs interview, just 1 month. Okay. All right. His last semester was January. He was called for work interview in February. 3 job offer. 3 jobs offer. And he started his job yesterday. Last week. Okay, he started his job last week. Okay, in 1 month. So this is the thing that they get. Okay, you identify which field you want to go into, and then you start looking. I can't tell you that this is the one that you need. This is the one that you need. Identify where you want to go to. Are you going to go for manufacturing? Are you going to go for automotive? Are you going to go for IoT? Are you going to go for oil and gas? Then you look for that. Is there any methods to evaluate a student's creativity? Yes. Yes, there are a few methods, okay, depending. Is it a creative process? Is it a creative product? Is it a creative press? Is it a creative person? NLP is yes, neuro-linguistic, yes. Yes, that is one of it, okay? NLP is basically for a person, okay, to trace the non-academic skills in their university. Yes, Okay, is it that applicable to Malaysian education? I'm not very particular. I'm not very informative about this one. Okay, but in terms of, let's say, creative product, you can actually look into what Professor David Copley's creative solution diagnosis skills. Is a very easy to use inventory, okay, with a set of questions, and then you have a score of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even novice engineer or new engineers can actually understand this because it's already categorized the effectiveness, the novelty, the elegance, and then the genesis. What is this? What are the so there is neuro-linguistic, definitely one of it, but that one is under the person. It's more towards the psychology. Okay, non-academic skills to improve their educations can be done. Yes, very impressed to this season. I was impressed. Even he was just only into his job for 2 years as an oil and gas engineer on the platform, and he managed to write an ebook and sell his ebook online, making extra income. Okay, he was one of our speakers to actually motivate my students how to choose and how to actually what do you call that, the know what you want in. That's where my students start to know. Okay, for Unit 10 students, they are really into oil and gas. So the moment we get people from oil and gas, you see a lot of people coming in. I don't know why, but Unit 10 is for Tenaga, but you see that the students are really into oil and gas. So if you get oil and gas speakers, you see a lot of people coming, and then they will start telling you what you need, what kind of certifications that you need, what kind of skills that you need, technical skills and soft skills. Okay, so that when they go for job interview, they already know not just only the technical skill, the management skills. Okay, how to handle the documents, all these things. Okay, like the safety, the OSHE, the OSH. Okay, they know already. So they just, the moment he finished, I remember talking to the students from Nottingham, that one, the moment he finished his study and he submit, he got job interview by 5 companies already. And all are multinational companies. All are multinational companies, because why? The company says that I don't need to train you already. I don't need to train you for this certifications. You already have all the proper certifications for a fresh graduate. I don't need to spend time in 1 to 2 years to train you because you already fulfill all. I want you immediately and you can straight go to the oil rig. So he knows what he wants. He needs the skill. This is like thinking, already start thinking. He already started thinking even during his time, and then he start to make plans. This is what we call as thinking skill. Start to think creatively, start to think what, and then start to plan and start to take actions. This is not something that you learn in the class. No, it's not the technical knowledge. This is our soft skills. Okay, planning, thinking, action, all these things. Okay.
Chua, just now you mentioned that some of the university actually offer creativity as one of their core subject. Can you just briefly tell us what is their main content in the course? Are they focused on methodology or are they focused more on process? Can you share with us something on this?
Okay. For us in Unit 10, okay, because we cater to not just only engineering, we only cater, because this is Unit 10 is, we don't have any social science, so it's IT and engineering here. So it's really a bit of mixture of both because the lecturer is not from engineering background. Okay, it's not from engineering background, so he has no idea how to use this. So when I approach the lecturer, he says, what you did here is what I need because I want the students. So basically, he uses some of the things that I developed. Okay, so more towards like the skills, like the mention that I mentioned there, the scampers. Yes, these are the things. For UTM, I can't remember already because I searched on it in about 2016 or 2017. Okay, and the one in Cebu, it didn't share. The one in Cebu did not share, but it put there creativity and innovations as a 3rd year subject.
I have a question regarding what was mentioned regarding creative thinking.
Mm.
You mentioned there's a term artificial science. What is meant by artificial science?
Okay. What do you call it? Artificial science. It is something that can be it can be taught, can be learned, can be measured, and can be controlled. Okay, so creativity can be taught. I can teach you the skills. Like I mentioned, you use the Pareto chart, you identify the problems, and then you come up with your ideas, generate the ideas. That means I teach you, and then you learn the thing, and then you come up with your ideas, and then I can actually measure how good is your creative thinking. Okay, just now somebody asked me how to measure. Okay, so for creative thinking, the processes that is happening inside your brain, one of the world famous assessment or measurement that you can actually use to measure creative thinking or creative process is what we call the Torrance test of creative thinking, TTCT. Now this TTCT is by Paul Torrance. Okay, it consists of two parts. One is verbal, that means you write or speak. How creative is your written report? How creative is your presentations? Okay, verbal. Another one is what we call figural. Okay, so I teach you this skill, blah, 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 brain writing. So you write out, you plan your thing, and then you write out, and then you present it out. So how you creative is measure the creativity there. So that is Paul Torrance for verbal. For figural, we're talking about figures, sketches, drawing. And this is where engineering can come in. We're talking about your designs here. Okay, your designs, and then how you come up with your ideas. Now, in what do you call that? The TTCT for figural, I don't want to talk about verbal because that is more towards your report, your presentations. But in terms of your designs, TTCT actually measures creativity of a designs, okay, or the ability of the person to come up with creative thing, ability inside your brain in 5 criteria. The first one is called the fluency. Fluency means that the ability of the person to come up with ideas in a very short amount of time, a lot of ideas, relevant ideas. Okay, that means I give you 3 minutes, give me 5 solutions or 10 solutions. So if you can come up with, let's say I give you A, B, C, D, E, can you come up with words using A, B, C, D, E? How many can you come up? That is fluency. The more you can give, the more fluent you is. Originality is the second criteria where basically you are looking at whether so-called novelty, your solution is unique or not. Okay, if it is unique, then it's originality. Third one is elaborations. That means your drawing, your design can provide a lot of details to the whoever's using your design, whoever's using your drawings, a lot of details. The fourth one is where our students are really, really weak. It's called the abstractness of title. Now, abstractness of title is basically the ability of the person to organize the ideas inside the brain and synthesize it. Organize it, synthesize it, and present it in a different manner. Present it in a different manner. So you have the drawing. I have this, I have the drawing already. Now I need to present it in a different manner. This is where we are weak. Asian students are really, really weak at. We don't know how to present it in terms of the communications, oral presentations, or all these things. We are the weakest in this part. And the last one is resistant to premature closure. That means your mind is stay open-minded. Okay, your mind is stay open-minded to accept new informations. Okay, new ideas before you make your decisions to choose which one. Okay, stay open. I have this 10 information coming in. Who knows, there will be another bulk of 5 to 10 coming in. You stay open. Not just like, oh, I received 2 and then I close. And then I choose out of these 2. That is not good. So these are the 5 creativity in the process of the mind. So this is measured by this, what they call the TTCT figural. So you draw, you have your ideas, and then you start to draw all this, and then you measure from there. So this one is developed by Paul Torrance and it's called the TTCT. Okay, so I hope that one gives you a lot more information about creativity.
Hey, Chua, I believe I agree with you lah. Creativity is something that can be taught, you see. But through your research, were you able to see that for beginners, what kind of methodology we should be teaching to them, and as they progress, we introduce more kind of tools? Because for, I think you mentioned about the 20 over tools that we can use, you see. Is there any hierarchy that we should group them and introduce to them stage by stage? Then our teaching will be easier, you see, in that sense.
Okay, there are a few that is very easy to use. The one that I choose was very easy to use and very systematic. They can actually identify. The very first one I chose was brain sketching because it just involves sketching only. You give them an incomplete diagram and then tell them, okay, let's say this is the diagram, I want you to draw a car. So they draw a car and then pass that drawing to the next person on the left or on the right. Okay, he haven't completed. So the person who got the sketch of the car come up with another version, not the same as the one that you have here. So he will have another new version, Then in a short amount of time, you will have a lot of ideas coming up. That is one thing. Attribute listing is another very simple one that you can actually use. You identify the features inside a product or outside the physical attributes. What are the things you can see there? Can I remove this one? Can I remove this one? Can I change this part? Can I change that part? That is attribute listing. You can actually use that. Scamper is a set of questions only. These are the ones that is more easy to use because you can actually do it in 1 hour for one of these. Introduce them, and then attribute listing, mind mapping. Yes, mind mapping is very simple. Brain sketching, scamper. These are the 4 that you can actually go into. Okay, things like complex problem solving, synetics are more complicated because synetics you need to talk about analogy. Okay, biomimic, something like that. You need to think about, or you need the informations, you need to go and search. So for beginners, brain sketching, attribute listings, mind map, these are some that you can actually use it, and then you can actually have a 1 hour session for each and every one, which I did. And I incorporated into my students' project work. So they can choose any one of them to use it. And then as you go on, maybe in year 2 or year 3, you try to incorporate complex problem solving. You try to incorporate synetics. That would be more challenging for them. Okay, attribute listings, scamper.
Yeah, thank you.
It's mind mapping.
Yeah, just laid it up. Mind mapping. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Alcha.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
If there are no more questions, we can end our session here. Thank you once again, IR Chua Yaw Long, for taking some of your time to share with us your knowledge and experience. And thank you to all those who joined today for this talk. Before we conclude, we would like everyone to open their webcams for a quick group photo.
Moses, are you taking the photo? Who is taking the photo? Moses?
Can maybe cancel the presentation first?
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I've forgotten. Okay.
Okay, Moses, you take photo.
All right.